Testing, testing. Anyone hear me? Thanks, Mike. I haven't heard anybody else, though. You're muted. I can't hear you.
TZ's offline.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Debbie, evening.
She's offline too.
Oh, she just joined. Hey, good evening. Hey, Glenn.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's like K6TZ.
Yeah.
Hi, Debbie.
Hello.
W0DP. There's Bill, Mike, somebody.
5 minutes, maybe something until it comes back to rest right now. Just for that.
There's the other half.
Hey, Glenn.
Nice rocket shot.
Hello. Yeah, that was a fun one.
Hey, I got one for you. This was going to Mars. I got one for you for going to Mars. This is what I helped build right here. See if you recognize this, Glenn.
Yeah, no, I don't. I didn't really pay attention to what we put on top.
That's the Orion project. That's the
No.
solar deployable solar arrays for the Orion.
Very good.
Yeah, I helped build those. I think Dave, you might be a little interested in that too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Dave, do you know anything about lamps antennas?
I do not.
You do not. Let me show you them. Just real quick. Lamps antennas are government items that I actually helped build. And of course, I would not have it in my. There it is. There it is. Lamps antennas are in the helicopters of most of the Coast Guard and government helicopters. That if you see a round dome underneath them, these lamps antennas are inside. I helped build dozens and dozens of ship sets of these in there. They twirl around really fast and they pick up friend or foe, and that's what they're designed.
Are those all waveguides?
Pretty much. They're programmed. Actually, they're actually calibrated in a top secret chamber to a special frequency, which is top secret. I can't divulge.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it can pick up things on the surface of the water up to 100 miles.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to work on that program too.
So is it lamps like a table lamp, but with an S on the end?
Yes, lamps. LAMPS.
I'll have to look that up. Thanks.
Yeah. Let me go back to my other screen. And this is what I'm doing in December 2nd for the holidays. Tree lighting ceremony for downtown. This is where I'll be at the Arlington. This is my last year's picture.
Very cool.
They're excited. They want me back. And I was like, I did it pro bono last year and they want me back this year. So I'm already got my foot in the door.
Are they paying you this year?
Only for the promenade, the downtown State and Creel.
Okay.
I don't take money unless it's donated to Santa's children, because that's where I get money to buy toys to give out to the kids in the community. And I do that free of charge, and I let the families come out and take pictures for free. I'm a give back Santa. I'm not one of those that's out there for the income. I'm out there to do it for the families.
That's very good of you.
Yeah. And they really appreciate it. Last year, I had 500 kids.
Wow. All in one evening.
All in one evening. It took me 4 hours. Yeah. It was really delightful.
That's awesome that you do that, Mike.
Well, bring your family if you know them. Come down on December 2nd this year. I'll be there. We're getting a late start today.
Yeah. Be nice to have some audio.
Send Brian a private message. Maybe he'll get a clue.
Or Michael, send Michael a note. Hey, let's get this thing going.
We are in good shape. We're looking at the back.
Dave, AI6VX. Are you
Yes.
living in Santa Barbara now or Goleta area?
I'm sorry?
Are you living in Santa Barbara or Goleta area?
No, I live in Ventura, and like the other end of Ventura, as far away as you can get. So I'm out on the 126 and Wells Road and the 118.
Okay, well, that's what I thought. But then when you were talking this morning on the net, I got the impression you were in Goleta at the end of the airport there, but.
Oh, I work there.
Oh, okay.
I do that horrible commute every day.
That's a long commute. Sorry about that.
It's my own damn fault though, because I went to UCSB and started commuting my senior year and never stopped. So I've been commuting since 1986.
Oh,
Hey, Dave, try commuting from Long Beach to Paris, California.
I don't even know where Paris, California is. Where is that?
So between Hemet and March Air Force Base.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, I hated it. Well, it looks like TZ's silent tonight. So here we are at 7:38. No program.
Yeah, I guess it's, bring what you're working on, but they're doing elections too. So I would think they'd have some election statement or something.
I already voted, so really. Actually, I had to vote twice. I told Dorothy, I says, I wish we had that in the primaries.
There you go. All right, I am going to send Brian an email or a text.
Yeah. Just start put your hand over your heart and start saying the American Legion. That's a really small turnout for tonight. 4 people, 5 people, 6. That's Dorothy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that Dorothy?
Yeah.
I go out to the car, I'll forget why I went out.
There we go. Now we're online.
There we go. Yep.
I'm gonna go back to my regular background. Here we go.
All right.
I hate this pixelation. There we go.
All right.
Good evening, all.
We're the crowd tonight, so there's not too many people on Zoom. Okay, let's get started. Everybody stand up, face the south end of the room. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, civil, liberty and justice for all. Play ball. Okay, let me see. Let's introduce ourselves. We'll start over. We got a rare visitor tonight, Mr. Talanian.
Not that real.
So you want to introduce yourselves for everybody who doesn't know who you are?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And how about you?
Bill Berenger.
And Harry?
PDQ. Michael, K6 Mark QB.
Larry, W6MBJ.
M6YX.
Lee, W6QYS. Daryl, QS60I.
Kelly Marquez, KD60VS.
Levi, K6LCM.
And Wayne and M6GX.
Okay, and then way back behind the pole. Still behind the pole. There is Dorothy.
K6 DSO.
All right, now this is also election night, so let me introduce the people that are running for office. We're missing some, but let's see. Larry, he's running for club secretary. Tom, club treasurer. Let's see, over here, we've got Levi and Wayne, both running for director. One of the directors. And then we have a couple of people, oh, me, Brian. Running for president, and let's see, we have Michael was on the board, he's right here. And for a couple of years, and he's retiring from the board to be on another board, right?
Needs me a lot more.
Yeah, it needs him a lot more. And then Dorothy has been on the board every year that I've been on the board, except for one. She took a year off and she's retiring from the board of directors, but she's taking on the committee chairmanship for the CCIC Center down in Carpinteria. So she's not jumping out of the frying pan into the fire so much, but it's a valuable. It's good. Her position is going to be valuable to the club. So, but thank you, Dorothy, for your many years of service as a secretary. Without her, we wouldn't have any minutes. We wouldn't even know what we're doing. Let's see. Now, does anybody have anybody hasn't voted yet? Lee, okay. Why don't you make your way to the back? Dorothy has ballots, and you can cast your ballot. Please don't vote any more than once or twice.
Turn your back into this box on the table, please.
Give me a citizen.
You got your voter ID card?
Only vote for 4 directors at large. Don't vote for 5 because Dorothy will reject them.
Are we gonna find out tonight, Ryan, or is there gonna be like a long protracted?
Well, we're gonna have to see if the tabulator's working.
Do we have early returns? Know who's ahead?
Well, you know, we were doing a poll earlier. Okay, our exit poll concludes that that gets me when the poll was announced the winner.
Yeah.
People still getting in their car, warming it up, you know?
Yeah. Well, now even more. It was never really reliable, and now with the mail-in ballots, it's really, you know, it takes a week. Yeah. Takes days to get it all counted. Yeah, well, this expectation.
Used to be the mail-in ballots. Observations were about the same.
Yeah, but now it's become a political
And
statement.
now it's completely upside.
Yeah.
You never know.
Although one state, Colorado, one of the mail-in ballots were surprisingly equal. And I think it was because some people were so remote that everyone voted mail-in. So it was-
That's how some states. Yeah, I voted for myself. This was the stuff.
Everybody gets.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, but they didn't ban
I think we had one election.
during COVID, yeah. Yeah, it was like a city midterm, like 2 council or something.
Okay, if you're watching on Zoom, or just as soon as they cast their ballots, then we'll start doing our homebrew night presentations while they tabulate them and sort them and figure them out. And
Oh, that's why.
No, it's wrong.
I don't know how that dropped off my bill.
For his test.
More time.
Well, I have a video if anybody want to watch a bunch of raccoons tearing up my yard.
Motivated them to look.
Yeah, basically.
Because they were all, of course, trying to cut down.
Just not.
Wrong question. So they had to pull it.
You have to save it for Thanksgiving evening.
I'll be in the desert.
Wow. Yeah. So then they would also have I would allow the proponents to speak. Champion their question if they wanted to vote. If there's 10 questions.
Yeah, that's a good brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why well, you know, there are so we get. So you have to see this was my own. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's not extreme, right? I've seen 4 or 5 years. It's like the dumbest, it's like teal or something. It's like some way. It's on steroids. And the teal is upstairs in the city.
All right, let's get started with the, who wants to lead off the, who wants to lead off the homebrew night stuff here?
I'm still sitting
I thought, if you want to bring it over here, then I'll train the camera on here.
Now we want to do exactly.
Well, these are not real photogenic. They're basically things designed and built to maintain the repeater
Did it really
systems.
close.
This is an ideal diode. Use it on the Astron power supplies to control their output voltage much better to get longer battery life. The fancy OR gate for our new voter at TCF. We're in the process of getting a new voter going. Over voltage, under voltage, over current power supply for power protection to protect battery systems from excessive drains or protect equipment from power supplies that go crazy.
The circuit boards.
I make them.
You do?
I have them made in China.
Oh, okay.
Like these things they're like pennies. a
Yeah, I
piece.
know, I have them made in China.
Yeah, so for $20 you get 10 or so, and you get them in like 5 days or a week. And this is a low dropout regulator and voltage regulator, current regulator configured to trickle charge a battery. So, yeah, it's an active diode basically. A little surface mount part and a big FET, so you do 30 amps at a couple of millivolts. So the old Astrons have.
But that's a control element, right? It's not running 30 amps through that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the tricks is you end up on these circuit boards, you end up adding wires on the bottom to support to handle the current because the traces,
Okay, I
you can't make traces for 30 amps. In this case, you can do it because there's FETs underneath those screws. And that's your interface to the FET. So the high current just goes through those active elements.
Now, is that a metal base?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a heat sink.
Yeah. So well, most of the stuff is already deployed in mountaintops and things. These are prototypes or extras.
When we stripped the rover, we had to get you back the charge controller.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
They,
We take the camera to the display.
that we're lucky enough, we got guys making custom stuff for our repeaters, so custom circuit boards, custom enclosures, everything,
Well documented.
and well documented, well built. All right, who's next? Levi? You want to do yours?
Showing this off, right?
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the K6 LCM power bank, and it's a homebrew 12-volt power source using a lithium iron battery.
Nice
You
and
can see
light.
inside, nice and light, very light, about a quarter the weight of a lead acid AGM battery. And this was done on a budget because we were talking before, you can find these on sale at these kind of capacities. This is 30 amp hours. They're probably more like 25 in reality. You can find them for sale in sporting goods stores or online. They're thousands of dollars if you want them to come with the power pole. And, you know, I think a lot of the manufacturers who make the $300 ones think, well, who would ever want to draw 20 amps at 12 volts? These things are for charging cell phones, right? Well, of course, hams do. So I decided rather than spending thousands on something that had a battery that had an expiration date in it, presumably, I was going to build something so that I could swap the battery out at any time. So this just has off-the-shelf parts and is wired up pretty simply. Everything is wired through these lugs on the top.
Yeah.
And battery charger on the back, which just uses a standard battery tender.
There we go.
And there's a write-up on this on SBARC.org. So I kind of detailed all the parts. There's a parts list on there. I want to say under $200. The battery was the single most expensive thing
Can you open
in
it up?
here. Yeah, I'll open it up. Battery's about $100. for a 30 amp hour lithium iron. And you could do a bigger or smaller one, you know,
You're paying for the lightness.
you're paying for the weight savings.
And the higher operating voltage.
So yeah, the important story of this is also ham related is that I built this after field day because I brought a 12-volt AGM battery to try to operate HF mobile with my IC 7300, and it kept browning out every time I transmitted, and I really couldn't go above 10 watts without browning out the whole power system. This will let me put out the full 100 watts portable operation, and the lithium iron battery doesn't flinch. So that's it. Oh, and then you can also run a cheap inverter off of it if you want to plug in a laptop or something like that. I wouldn't plug in a flat iron or a hair dryer. It claims 400 watts, but I don't know how you get 400 watts at 12 volts.
You gotta shorten the cord. People like trying.
Yeah.
It didn't say for how long.
I didn't say for how long. Yeah. So that's mine.
Nice.
Thanks, Levi.
What do you use for a charger?
Oh,
You have to have a different charger, don't you?
yeah. So this is the what do they call it? A
SAE connector.
SAE connector. Yeah, it's an SAE connector for a battery tender. And the new battery tenders have a selector on them, and they're capable of charging lead or lithium, depending on what mode you want them in. The lithium requires a little bit higher voltage to charge, and it does some fancy stuff at the end to really get the maximum amount of capacity out of it.
Your own built-in controller, right? Each battery.
Yeah, some of them have like a special charging circuit and harness, like the Bioenio ones have a separate charging harness. This one just has the terminals on it, and it has an internal protection. So if I were to drop a wrench on this, unlike an AGM or a lead acid, it would just turn itself off. It wouldn't like blow up.
What's the terminal voltage on those at rest?
Good question. That's printed on the front.
13 volts.
Yeah, so this
That would be
is
under load too.
this is when you're not under load, 100% charge is 14.6 volts. Then as soon as you draw power from it, it's going to drop down to 13.6. And then it's pretty good about load. It'll stay above, 13 volts until you get down to about a 30% charge. And then at about 30%, you start to drop into brownout territory and closer to 12 volts. And they say it's pretty much depleted when it hits 12.5 to 12 volts.
Still
So,
amazing.
yeah, it's not like a lead battery where lead acid where you're, below 12 for half your operating
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Your IC 70.
When you key down, does it drop or does it?
Do I have a way to tell? Yeah, no, I don't remember it dropping too much. It drops a little bit, but so let me turn it on because this doubles as a USB charger, but it also shows you the operating voltage. And I was going to bring my radio, but if I don't have any way to anything to transmit into it, so I didn't want to do that. But I could do an online demo at some point, and we can check out what the voltage is. But it stays above 13 when I'm doing full power out. So
The
Yeah.
IC 7300 likes.
yeah. They don't like it. When
Virtually
you,
all radios like that.
yeah. Yeah.
It really is the idea, that kind of radio.
Very good.
Hey Levi, where did you get that case?
Oh, yeah, good question. So the parts list is all online at SBARC.org. Just look in the club news section. I think it's fallen back a couple posts, but it's just called the battery box, K6 LCM battery box or power bank. And this is from Harbor Freight, and it was like $8 at Harbor Freight. It's a ammo box or a toolbox. It actually had a little tray that I pulled out that had dual layers. So very inexpensive. All the other parts are mainly like Amazon or AutoZone, or now maybe someday soon Santa Barbara Electronics Supply.
Someday soon.
Someday soon. Coming to your neighborhood.
Thank you, Levi.
Good.
Okay, who's next?
Okay, bring it up, Kelly.
Oh, okay.
I was just kidding.
So in 2016, I got onto a whole saga of low noise pro audio design and had a bit of a learning curve for certain things. At the time, we had some DI boxes at the church that did not give me the performance I wanted. And so I ended up making this hideous looking little thing. Not really knowing what I was doing. And not really knowing anything about pro audio at the time. You won't be able to see this diagram, I'm afraid. I basically made a buffer. And then, so it's a unity gain buffer. And then inverted it because it's balanced audio, right? One signal goes this way and the other one does this. And the noise was terrible. And somewhere in there, I started seeing, what did I do wrong in here? Anyways, long story short, I got rid of the inverted part. And Bill Whitlock has a whole, if you ever go on the Jensen Transformers page, he's got a whole bunch of tutorials on how to do balanced audio. And it says, it's not about having the signals seesawing in equal opposite phase. Actually, you can have one of them moving. What matters is that the source impedance of this lead and the source impedance of your ground need to be the same. So I was able to get rid of that other half and then read a little bit about Johnson noise and basically put a divider in there. And so my final version, which was actually nice and quiet, even when it was unplugged, because that was one of the other problems. Guy unplugs it, totally all this console noise. Where's it coming from? Well, it's the high impedance input without any termination, which is typically 5K. So it'd be typically maybe 5 nanovolts, 10 nanovolts. It's probably about 10 nanovolts once you plug in a guitar. But unplugged, it's going to be, 20 times more. It's just terrible. So what I did was I divided down the output of the buffer to something reasonable, buffered it again, which you can do at low noise. And then the only real, you probably can't see this here. I don't know. Let's see if we can bring this up. We're going to stop? No? Maybe we need to get a little closer. Okay, there is a lovely little divider here. And one of those resistors is 300 ohms. That is about 2.5 nanovolts, roughly, which is lower than pretty much a lot of op amps. So now I don't have to worry about any of the rest of the circuit. The op amp set the noise floor. And sure enough, I was going back here and opening the good one. I actually had a noisy op amp in here, and it was quiet enough. And this one had a quieter op amp, and it was terrible. So that was my learning curve, and that's what I ended up saying. I really need, again, getting into consoles. We bought a digital mixer board. And I was trying to measure the noise, and I had figured out a real cool way of measuring noise. Well, I had a problem. That thing had maybe a neg 50 dB volt, like 600 kilohertz noise hash on the output. And so I made this annoying little ultrasonic filter that is just literally a chain of caps and resistors.
Yeah, you really got that in there tight, didn't you?
Yeah, because again, I wanted to get rid of I wanted to get rid of a lot of other stuff, all the way up to like 10 megahertz. And that worked. Now the other thing is, when you measure noise, it's a broadband problem. And if you look over here, I've got my whole collection of voltmeters, vintage voltmeters. I've got, you won't be able to see this right now in the video. I've got an old Fluke. I've got an even older HP. So it's an HP 403B. This is an old Fluke, I don't know what it is, 80, 50. And I've got a much newer Fluke 77, 177. So I bought this when I was up in Gibraltar because I couldn't measure a battery voltage. My fancy Fluke had too much bandwidth. It was picking up RF all the way. I actually had shielded plugs in here like this, and I couldn't measure the battery voltage. It was just bouncing all over. So I ended up buying one of these. Cheaper, no bandwidth. These things are maybe 3 kilohertz, and you can't use these for measuring audio. Maybe 1 kilohertz tone. Old HP 403B, you can get these on eBay, change out the batteries. And I actually had to prepare some things in there on some of these. I had a picture of myself and 4 of these we had from the city. We had 3 of these. This was my personal unit. and I was calibrating these recently. This is about a 10 megahertz, 7 megahertz bandwidth. So these are very handy. This is only about 300 kilohertz. Going to be a little bit tight. So when I had this, when we can come back later, I built this low noise preamp, and it is literally the stupidest thing. We can talk about that a little bit more. But again, this is a shielded box. There's nothing in here particularly special. Get a pen here. All right. What we got here is a shielded box. When you do audio design and low noise, it's better just to use 9-volt batteries. You want plus and minus. You don't want to use a split rail. You want to have a nice ground somewhere. This board actually, I think this wire right here is the only spot where the board ground is actually tied chassis ground, other than I think the input. Well, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's 3 spots. But anyways, this actually is shielded cable to the input. And there are basically here, look at that. I actually have a diagram. There are, is that right? Much better, upside down, right? Is that right? Let's see, I'm confused. No, no, it's Mary. All right, sorry. Let's see, right. All right, so we've got a like 11. This is not inverting because well, we'll get into that. So I got an 11 gain stage and 11 gain stage. I tap that signal out, and of course, with this particular op amp, it's about 300 kilohertz of bandwidth. We have a special filter, single pole at 13, it's probably 12.8 kilohertz. When you measure noise, you have to have some kind of filtering, and you have to know the characteristic of that filter. For a single pole, it's 1/2, pi over 2, 1.57 times the bandwidth. So this is 1.57 divided by, or 20 kilohertz divided by 1.57 to give me an equivalent 20 kilohertz bandwidth. So when I measure noise on some other audio circuit, I'm rolling off some of it, but I can sort of infer backwards what the noise is. So we buffer this on a TLO62, one of the shittiest, but one of the very basic op amps, and again, tap it out. So on the output here, we've got our 300 kilohertz tap, actually it's probably closer to 2, and our 13 kilohertz tap, which is our 20 kilohertz equivalent bandwidth. So I can basically take my signal in here and measure an equivalent amount of noise there. And lo and behold, when we go back on the meters, yeah, when I've got this thing terminated in a short, you actually see the predicted amount of noise out of this front end, which is 8 nanovolts. It actually works out to 0.14 millivolts, which is just barely measurable. That's silly old HP and on the fluke. But when you go to the 300 kilohertz band, that other fluke doesn't have enough bandwidth to give me the correct measurement. And that poor little fluke 177 can't measure either one. So noise measuring can be a little bit, so this is a little magnifying preamp. Again, this is one of the RC4558. It's a glorified 741. They're cheap, they're ubiquitous, they're in every guitar pedal, and it's more than adequate for this sort of application. And you say, well, what's that noise figure? Somebody was asking. It's 7 nanovolts, about 50 ohms is like 0.9 nanovolts. So it's probably like an 18 dB noise figure. It's horrible, but actually for this application, it's pretty good.
You know, Kelly, Christmas is going to coming up, and you're going to have some new project boxes. So,
you know, and I went to the grocery outlet. I think that's where it was. The grocery outlet. They had these things for next to nothing.
Your first production run, you should retain that container.
I'm going to tell you, shielded enclosures. If you're going to do this sort of stuff, I really have to have a lid on here, but shielded enclosures, bulkhead connectors, don't put away your alligator clippings. You're not going to do that sort of stuff. Same thing. I even took some XLR stuff when I was doing balanced audio down to the Jan and Ollie's place where they had the AM transmitter and did some tests with the mic cable. And that was revealing. We'll talk about that some other time. Come back and look at my voltage demonstrations later. All right, I'm done.
Thank you.
Daryl, you want to show us what you brought there? You're up. Your turn.
I must confess that on the way over here, a wire got switched. So I can only tell you what it's supposed to do. I'd like to read you a story I wrote, and not everybody's going to walk by here and read this whole thing, so I'll just tell it to you. It's called A Better Mouse Trap. We've heard the phrase many times. So here in beautiful Santa Barbara, we have often learned that we are not alone. What do I mean? I mean that critters galore also live around here. We often find themselves a bit too close for comfort to our radio shacks, our parts collection, our eating areas, and other locations where they're not wanted. Critters always looking for something to eat, nibble on, feed to their youngins. They look everywhere, places one cannot even fathom. Yet there they show up, and all too often cannot find their way out again. So there they are, stuck inside a wall, a container they got into and they can't escape from. So what is their final demise? A certain death is their reward for their efforts. When a rodent dies, it cannot be located. You can all relate to this, I'm sure. An unholy stench is our reward. This horrible smell lasts until other critters feed on it or bacteria devour it over time and leave nothing of it. I see heads nodding. Or hopefully we locate it before that happens and we dispose of it. Much easier said. The above scenario is all too common here in our area. Mouse traps, rat traps, and anything else one can devise to catch these pests sometimes work to kill them. But then what? You forget where you put all these devices, and not only that, a caught critter, if not killed, may drag that trap all over the place. And before it finally takes its last breath, ends up in a spot far from where you placed it. Anybody relate to that? The above problems have been solved here at the KF60I shack. When a critter is caught in a trap, a blinking light is noticed somewhere indicating that something has been caught. An audible alarm could also be set off. To prevent its being dragged elsewhere, the trap is mounted on a very heavy base. It's heavy. Most of the critters have gone head first toward the peanut butter on the trap trigger mechanism, and have been killed. Last night, a rat was caught by its front leg, and then I released it back into nature again. The use, have you seen this happen? Yeah. The use of the tomcat mouse or rat trap is my mechanism of choice. At my abode, a rat trap is what is used because of the large number of rats in the neighborhood. The trap is mounted to a heavy piece of wood board. The trap has been cut so out that when it is sprung by the caught critter, a micro switch lever closes a switch, and that completes a circuit of the blinking red light alert system. The past several times an animal has been caught, I never heard a sound. But that blinking light sure did catch my eye. Any flashing light circuit can be used, and this one uses the blinking red LED, which is right here. And I can see this guy from 50 feet away. I don't know if you can see it, but it does catch my eye. And I walk from my house into my parts, into my shop, and I always look over toward the parts room.
Show it to the camera, Daryl.
Closer. And I can tell if I've caught anything or I haven't. If this thing is blinking, it's really obvious. And many times lately, I have gone into the shop where I work. I see a red light, immediately go back into the house. I say, hey, got another one. I haven't even seen him yet. But it does tell me for sure. I think the other day I caught 6 of them in one day. Amazing. I don't know yet how they get in. But anyway, what happens, this is the rat. This is his body. And he goes in, there's the peanut butter. And right here, if they do it right, and it sets this thing off. Because this plug goes right into that guy. And there you go. What I do is pull this guy out. Take this whole thing with a rat in it. I'll take him outdoors and I'll let him go. And it works well. It's simple, it's basic. I don't know if it's ever been done before, but I have not seen it. And you can do this. Anybody can do this. Any questions?
How many have you caught with that?
How many?
Yeah, how many?
I don't know. I didn't keep track.
How many are repeat offenders?
Should I save it for you? 50 maybe.
Does it always kill them or does it
What?
always kill them the first time?
Unless it gets a leg.
Then what do you
Don't
do?
reach in there and I'll see the light go off. And I'll go in there and say, there he is, but he's still moving around. So
Do
he
you
must
do
have
that?
his tail or his leg. I don't cut him off. I release him outdoors. So
You know-
he has, if I haven't killed him, then what do I want to?
Oh, works good.
Huh?
It was a cat.
Yeah.
You don't feed them to the crows?
Daryl, your next step here.
The dead rats go in the trash, they don't feed them?
No, yeah, you should throw them out. leave 'em for-
Front yard, crows, hawks, whatever.
You
Warm body.
set those up behind the rigs there at the headquarters basement. You got rats in there eating the
So,
wires, right?
in other words, I don't like to waste anything.
Waste not.
I waste the life, if it's dead, give it to the animals to eat.
A funny story about that. I used to have in the front part of my property, my wife wanted to put in some vegetables. And we had also rats used to come and try and get them. So I put traps. I built a concrete block wall to retain the dirt and everything. We put traps all around there, and every morning I go down there, I'd have 2 or 3 of them. And I would take them out and pitch them over the hedge, and they'd hit the street because a bird or something would always get it. Well, there's an old guy that lived across the street from me that happened to be walking. I couldn't see him, and he's going, he says, he was like 95 or something. He says, it's raining rats.
Sure. Well, you can build this yourself. It's not hard. It's not technically challenging. The only trick to it was cutting out the place for the lever of the micro switch to get down in there. So you can look at this, see how I did it, and works every time.
I think the next one you ought to do, you ought to electrocute him.
Why?
Well, that's fun.
Is your next revision going to be Bluetooth enabled?
It'll tell your smartphone, give you an announcement. That rat.
There you go.
Picture and a text message.
So can you post the narrative on the website?
I used to have a couple of those, you seen the electric ones? You put peanut butter in there and they go in there and you hear it. That's the end. Little puff of smoke comes out. Okay, I saw a Sterling engine when I walked in here. Would you like
I
to?
did not invent it. I did not know.
I was gonna say we had the inventor of the Sterling engine here.
I'm not that many years old. So if your grandkids don't have one of these, this is running on hot coffee.
right now. It's just, well, it's actually hot water.
And it's been running for a while.
It's been running, yeah, it'll run for about an hour on a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I'm not as technical as you guys, so the best I've come up with is I despise plastic coffee, so I make coffee without plastic. And it's very hard to find a way to do that. The French press is the closest I've come to do it without plastic. But like the French press, the very last drip is kind of granular. So again, if your grandkids don't know about this, for God's sakes, get one. $10 at Amazon. This is an industrial supply. And this has replaced my APRS that I built several for over 100 each. And this little doodad was designed and at UCSB and first used at UCSB. It's called a tile. This tile is a Bluetooth locator. You can get them for $5 from China. This one is from China, but it's like $12. But because it's the first one that I heard of, and it was designed at UCSB, I like it, and so I use it. They stuck them under the seat of a stolen bicycle. And then they'd bring the foot patrol to the house where the stolen bicycle was and knock on the door and say, well, I'd like my bike back now. Thank you very much. And of course, the guy at the door would say, well, what are you talking about? There's no bike here. And then he'd push the alarm button and it would go off. I guess I can do that. Let's see. Okay, let's see if he's. Okay, fine. Are you hearing? My hearing is terrible.
Find the key there.
Yeah. Okay, so then people get their bicycles back, but this works on cars. All that has to happen is somebody has to walk within 80 feet of this that has a cell phone in their pocket that is that's hot, and it will report the location on the internet and therefore to my phone. So wherever the hell it is, my phone knows where. And here I'm spending more than $100 building an APRS, and $12 does the job better.
So how does it talk to your phone if you haven't paired with it?
I have paired with it.
No, but if I walk, you're saying anybody walks.
No, for some reason, the signal works with other people's phones, and I don't understand that quite, but it does.
Do you charge them? Do you recharge them?
Oh, no. That's a very good point. The first ones that came out had a 1-year battery. You go buy another one next year.
Yeah,
This one has a little trap door.
yeah.
You can pull it out. I can't do it, but anyway, with a knife blade, I could pull this one battery out. It's good for a year.
Use a little coin cell or something?
Yeah, 2035 or something. So that's been in my car. My car was stolen and that retrieved it.
Really?
Yeah. So,
It'd be like $1,000 for my low jack.
exactly. The APRS wasn't exactly like a low jack, but you don't own it. And you pay a monthly fee or something. So this thing, $12, you're done.
You have to be near it in order for it to pair up.
Within 80 feet near it.
So if you don't know where it is, how do you?
If I don't know where it is and somebody walks by that has their cell phone on and the Bluetooth is working at all,
It will pair to anybody.
it'll pair to anybody and send that anonymously to the internet map, which tells this phone where it is. So I don't build them anymore.
Or any Wi-Fi? What's the name of that?
Bluetooth locator. Under the general term Bluetooth locator, this particular one is the brand Tile, T-I-L-E. If you get one, again, $12, woohoo. If you get one, it will protect your bicycle. If it's stolen, it'll find your bicycle.
What animals?
Yeah, dogs, cats, pet won't come home. Yeah,
He's in the house.
That'd be the.
and in the house, you can find the pet in the house.
Control and.
Oh, your phone, when you've got it on the map,
there's a little arrow on your phone, and whichever way I turn, the arrow stays pointing like a compass at the thing. So if I'm walking in a parking lot, I know which way to go to find it. It's very, very simple.
How
So
long did it take to get from China or from UCSB to China?
almost simultaneously, I'm sure, because I'm sure these are built in China, and then out the back door go the other versions.
Yeah.
Let's see, I think I have, I have one or two more things.
A couple hundred.
Yeah. You could put them on.
Yeah, so we know where everybody is.
We gotta put one on Bill, so we know where he is.
So this helps me. I'm so bad. My wallet has a tile on it. I mean, I'm so bad. I don't want to lose my wallet. It's distressing for me to do that. One of the projects I was going to build, because I'm not as technical as you guys are, is a light for my tail light for my bike, and it has a coil and an LED, and you run a magnet by on the spokes, and suddenly it says, "Hey, I'm here." And then I found this for $10. I mean, why build one?
Got a battery in it, or is it?
No battery, no battery. It's just induction, pure induction, nothing but. And there's another brand out that has a super capacitor. So when it gets a flash, it continues going and it tapers on. Yeah, yeah. It gives it a half-second charge, and that makes it a continuous red instead of a flashy. But either one works nicely. And for $10, why build one?
I know it might get ready for Christmas.
I'm a school teacher, and I'm pulling the plug on that now. But if for those who want to hitch a ride on a flying saucer, you've got your electronic thumb to catch a ride. Just stuff I've used as a teacher. And then you'll recognize in Mexico, there's a Molina that makes hot chocolate. It dissolves powder in a hot drink. Well, this Molina with a little rubber band on the top suddenly becomes like a mix master without a power, without any power. That's inconvenience. And last of all, and if anyone who wants it, speak up. This is a pressure register. So if you have a car tire, modern cars have electronic pressure registers inside the tires. But old cars or bicycles or wheelbarrows or hand trucks are always empty. They're always flat. You never know, and you're starting to work with it. Well, one of these has a red signal to you if it's flat, even if it doesn't look flat, and it's green if it has pressure. So if someone can use one, I've got 3 I'm going to give away right now. Anybody? Any takers?
I have them on my trailer.
You have them on your trailer? I do too.
At the PSI, yeah.
Yeah.
Different size, different.
They come in different pressures. This is about 30 PSI. But if it's 30 PSI, you're fine. You know, like bicycles or cars. So anyone wants it? They're here. I've got them all over my house, all vehicles. So that's it for me, my completely non-technical whatever, but sure got the interest of the kids in the classrooms, I'll tell you.
You gotta do infomercials.
Keep them going.
You ever used to be a teacher?
37 years.
37 years a teacher.
Yeah, those just screw on the valve stands.
Now, if we could just get this up to scale, we'd have some.
Yeah,
right.
Well, they make good ones. They really do.
Those the ones just screwing in the stand. I've got those all over. Yeah.
I got an idea here. Where's your little, here to put a little magnet on there.
Yeah.
And then
And a little flasher.
little flasher.
Yeah. It would flash a red light
Yeah.
as long as you had hot coffee or hot water.
What about if you peed in it?
Supposedly, it's a half-degree temperature difference between bottom and top is
Uh-huh.
enough to go. I don't know about that. But if you take it and put it on ice, And an ice pack,
Uh-huh.
it goes backwards.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta get me one of those.
Oh, it's so much fun. And it'll go like this whole meeting on one cup of hot water.
It's a very practical application of that. I've seen one where they set it on top of a wood burning stove.
Uh-huh.
There's a fan
That would be very quiet,
that will
very reliable.
use that heat differential and it
Oh,
rotates
to
the fan to blow the
blow
hot
the
air.
warm air out. You can look on Amazon.
Yeah, I want to find one.
Send me the link.
This seems to be the best design I've come across. The other ones take a flame or something else, but this one just runs on.
It's been going an hour here while we've been from the hot water.
Yeah, now this is a vacuum side, so it's not losing heat this way, it's losing heat through this. Through the top, but yeah. Yeah, all there is. It won't take much of a load to stop it, but I'm just grateful it works. As a kid, I had a steam engine that ran, 2 hours preparation, it ran 10 minutes, then you get to clean it up for 2 hours. This thing just goes.
If you held on to the center of it, and slow down to stop it.
Yeah.
How much,
What friction will it take?
because you could take advantage of that.
Yeah, you can buy a version of this that runs a little motor generator thing that runs an LED, continuous light. Or like he was saying, you put a little magnet here, maybe one on each end, so it's balanced. As it flashes by, it'll flash the little taillight thing. So if you have a use for that, there you go.
One other application for those.
So I'm sorry I'm not technically able like you guys are, but this is fun stuff.
Calculate horsepower.
Those we've got a sheet going around here. Each person that contributed tonight is putting down on the sheet, his name is called, about what he did here. And maybe we'll have a little vote. See what is the most appreciated. As soon as that gets done, I think everybody else has filled that out.
All right, we have anybody else that brought anything?
I can show some stuff over Zoom.
Anybody on Zoom?
I posted something I could share.
Can you hear me okay?
You posted something?
I sent you a chat message saying that I had something I could share.
I've got
Okay.
something too, if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Before I talk about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Mike, you want to go first and then Dave?
Sure. Let me, can I share screen?
No,
Okay, then I can't share.
you can't. Well, let me see here. Yeah, I guess. Let me see if this is gonna work.
Yeah, you'll see his screen, right?
I think so. Yeah.
You let-
Alright. Okay, go ahead and try and share your screen there.
All right, let's see here. Whoa, what is this? I want to share something else. That's not working. How can I share? Okay. Let me minimize this. Let me go to this. All right, can you see that?
No, not at all.
No? You can't see that at all?
Nope.
Ay. Alrighty, let's try this again. Share screen. Screen there. And you can't see that.
Nope.
All right, well,
Your glasses.
all right, well, I'm sorry. I'll just explain it to you. what I did was when I was working with the volunteer group up at the Los Padres National Forest, let's say it was October 22nd, Saturday. I turned my mobile Kenwood TM Victor 71 into a repeater so that people in the mountain could tune into the another frequency, which I had programmed on my secondary channel to 440.000. That enabled them to communicate to downtown Santa Barbara for all the races. I didn't know I could do that until I learned about it. And I had posted my mast, my 30-foot mast, 2-meter 440 antenna, utilizing a base mount that you drive your tire over, and secured it to my vehicle. And amazingly, they were able to communicate from from Gibraltar Dam to Santa Barbara Team Center, where they were actually communicating from, or the ops station. And it was amazing that I was able to utilize that frequency so that they can do that. That's something I learned at that point in time, at just basically being there. And I really appreciate the efforts from Les, KN6CKG, who helped me get through that. But it's a learning process. And I did not realize that my TM71, which I have 2 of them, one for the office and one for the truck. And I'd taken the one out of the office and put it in the truck on the side of the work panel and plugged it in. And I utilized ham radio on low frequency for 440.000, and it worked just perfectly. And I had other members that were volunteers programmed their HTs to 440 in a low band or low power frequency. And they were able to hit my repeater, and it converted right down to Santa Barbara. And I think Wayne can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, it's called crossband.
Yeah, some people do that at events so they can walk around their station with an HT and have a bit more of a mobile rig, fixed at their vehicle. Because they may want to go talk to one of the other race officials or something. You can't have a mobile radio right where they are. It worked good for this application. It kind of saved the day. If those people had a 220 megahertz radio, they could have came in on the Lacumba repeater.
There's a sale on swapping it now.
I bought it.
Pardon?
I bought it.
Oh, you did? I didn't know this.
How come we don't know this?
Paid
All
for it.
right, thanks, Mike.
Well, I'm just saying it's something new I learned, which I did not know about until then. And I thank Les, CKG, for helping me get that thing programmed and started. And it worked very well.
Okay. You back, Dave?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. First off, I've got one too.
Okay.
Yeah, so just like the previous guy, I was pretty tickled when this came out. First off, they were really expensive originally. Excuse me, not this model, but decent Sterling engines that had low temperature differential. And this thing came out and I just had to have it, and it's been wonderful. People just like you guys have been pretty impressed with it. One thing that I wanted to mention is, so you guys are looking at it as basically it's a heat pump. So it's transferring the heat from the lower surface to the top surface. And what many of you guys might not realize is that if you drive this thing, instead of it driving the flywheel, but you drive the flywheel, is you can force a temperature differential between the one side and the other. And that's exactly how cryogenic rotary coolers work for infrared cameras, which I happen to work for a particular company that makes infrared cameras. And so if this were very well insulated on one side. You can get down to liquid nitrogen or cooler temperatures for being able to run exotic imagers. So not our division, but now that we've been bought by another larger company, but some of our imagers are on the Webb. What's the first part of the name?
James Webb.
Yeah, it's on the James Webb Telescope. So courtesy of Teledyne. So anyways, just a side note on rotary coolers, Stirling coolers. Yes, Mike.
Put your hand underneath that and show them how it works.
Oh gosh, I'm not going to, because the other guy, you know, he still has his going. So it
Well,
will.
I'm just saying it's a demonstration.
You know, I don't think there'll be enough differential for me to really kick it off. And I want to do some of the other stuff. So maybe at the end, Mike. Sorry. So the other, excuse me while I make you guys all seasick. These other things I've been working on, and the guys that are on the digital group already know about this, is I've been making some clocks, and it's a little hard to see, but this one is an NTP settable clock. And this thing using a $5, $4 microcontrollers, the ESP8266, which is a ubiquitous chip that's used in a lot of smart plugs that you guys buy. That's kind of where it has proliferated. But anyways, it is Arduino environment programmable and has a built-in Wi-Fi stack on it. So for $5 or less than $5, you have something, you basically have an Arduino on steroids, much more RAM and flash and Wi-Fi. And so this thing, it comes up pretty quick. In fact, let me unplug it and plug it in. You can see how fast it comes up because all it has to do is get an IP address and then ping the NTP server, and there you go. So I've been using this when I run the nets because it's like spot on. Pretty happy with it. And I have to say that this is not my design. There's a guy out there, Whiskey 8 Bravo Hotel, that has quite a few different projects that are darn cool. And the next project is also of his design, which is this one. Let me back up. Me and my buddies kind of give each other Christmas presents, and I tend to do things that I build, and I was going to give them something like this. Actually, what I was going to do is, if you guys see that clock on the wall, I was going to give them that clock. And that is the same microcontroller, but with an LED display, dot matrix display. It sets itself. It handles daylight savings time all by itself. I have another one in the living room that is wired to a very tiny, like an inch square MP3 player that does Westminster chimes every quarter hour. So that's my grandfather clock. It's always accurate. But in any case, I wanted to give them this, but you need to be able to enter, you know, your Wi-Fi password. First you have to search the SSID and then your Wi-Fi password. And then, you know, if they move away, how you're going to set the daylight savings time and the time zone. I thought, oh gosh, it'd be so much easier if I didn't have to deal with Wi-Fi. And that same guy, Bruce, has a GPS version. And many of you guys don't know, but A, I'm a bit of a hoarder. And B, when I buy something, I don't buy one of something, I buy many of something. So to build these, all I had to do is like go in the garage and find the box that I had LCD displays and my box of Arduino controllers and my, oh gosh, you know, I'm looking at it and not pointing the camera, sorry. And my GPS modules and slap it together. So this is the next one that is also by Bruce, W8BH. And what's cool about this is besides also having GPS time, and you're going to see my fingers swipe across it here, is that, you know, I can do 24-hour time because it has a touch screen on the front. Put it back. I can put the PST and change to UTC. Put it back. he added, you know, a second ticker if you wanted. You just touch the speaker there. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's ticking away. The other thing it does is, so you can do UTC and PST time. You might be able to hear my grandfather clock in the other room bonging right now. And it'll also do GPS location. You know, altitude's never great for GPS. Sorry about the glare. Speed and whatnot. So it's a pretty cool project. You know, this display, this is a little bigger than the other one. This I used to pay probably about $5, but with the gouging that we're, you know, all suffering now, this is more like, this is probably like 10, $11 now, maybe 13 on Amazon. This bigger display was about 16 on Amazon. Again, the ESP8266 modules, I used to pay $3-4. They're probably $5-6 now. This specific module is called the Wemos D1 Mini. Again, you program it with the Arduino IDE. The other project that Bill or Bruce came up with, this is using an STM32 Blue Pill module. I think I bought 5 of these for under $20. And then the GPS modules I already had. At one point, I think I was paying $6 each. I think they're up to, well, they're probably still $6 if you wait for them to come in from, you know, China on eBay. So there's that. So, you know, for $10, you know, in dollars from 3 years ago to certainly like 15, 8, you know, less than 20 and less than 30, you can have, you know, an accurate clock. So I think I'm going to make these for my buddies for Christmas, except for not use that display because there's way too much going on for them. Perfect for us hams, but stick it into, you know, that guy. That guy, I've already printed housings for them, you know, a year ago. I've already bought the LED matrix displays. They're super easy to operate because they're serial, not very many wires you have to hook up. Pretty neat stuff. So that's what I've been working on. And then the last thing is, and this is more down what like Wayne was talking about, is I've been doing circuit boards, and I've been doing circuit boards like, gosh, for a long time. That's actually why I got my ham radio license at all, was there used to be a PC board software called SirCAD by a couple of hams. And the software was $1,000 or $200 if you had a ham radio license. So back in 2000, I crammed and got my license just so I could buy the software for, you know, $200. And so I've been making boards forever. And I was using a place in Arizona, and I've been using 4PCB in the past and PCB Express and, you know, whatnot. And lately, I've been using IT Studio, which is now called, or they stopped, but now I'm using JLB PCB. So this is another one of Bruce's W8BH's projects. This is a Morse code tutor. There's an LCD display that will mount here. There's an encoder that will go here. A volume switch knob will go here. Audio amplifier, speaker, DC to DC power supply, and the STM32 module. So good thing I bought 5. Good thing I already have displays. I already have DC to DC converters. But anyways, he had the Gerber files available. I didn't have to lay out this board. And so I got 5 of these boards built. I mean, this is not a small, you know, this is not a small board, right? And it cost me, I think, 5 board, full service, right? Double-sided, plated through, silk screen both sides, Hazel, hot air solder leveled, green silk screen, green solder mask, and it was 5 boards for, I think, $6.50, and then like another $3.50 to ship. And it took 2.5 calendar days, 2.5 calendar weeks for the time I sent my project Gerber files to them to when these arrived in my hands. So that's what's crazy. I'm gonna do what Mike did here, and let me share my other screen. Application, Chrome, share. I'm hoping this is coming up. Let me know if it is. It might be a little hard to see on your screen there. Is this, can you see something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board I just showed you is this one here. So this is, oh, okay, all right, $7.70, sorry. I had a coupon for $5 off. And so with shipping and everything, I got 5 boards in my hand for $6.68. Separately for work, you know, I've been doing stuff for a while. I went and had this board made, and I had, I think, 5 pieces done for $2, another $3.63 to ship. So $5.82. These landed in my hands in 2 calendar weeks. This board is for a life tester for work that I made. It's got a mix of through hole, surface mount, some other surface mount. It's got power conditioning. It's basically the front end that goes into an A to D module so that we can monitor voltage, current, temperature, what have you. This board, because I needed it rush, I got 15 boards made. And the size, I think the size is about as big as the other one I showed you, you know, for $14.24. And I needed them quick. So I paid, you know, $36.81 for DHL. It was exactly 1 calendar week from the time I gave them my files till 15 boards were plopped in my hand for a price of $46. And then separately, this one just came in. And for you guys, I don't know if any of you guys are video gamers that play Portal. There's the companion cube, but this was another board. This is a power supply slew board. It ends up some power supplies we're using don't turn on fast enough. And so this uses a P channel FET as a series pass with an N channel with a RC network on its gate. So it doesn't come up immediately. Basically it delays the turn on and then turns it on hard. Got 20 of these boards made for $7. So lots of cool ways for you guys to do stuff and get boards made cheap. I know that, you know, SBARC is one that sells boards for I think about $1 a square inch. You know, this stuff's even cheaper if you're willing to wait. And I think SBARC isn't even that fast. So this might even be faster for you. So don't be afraid of making PC boards for your projects. That's all I have.
You remember, Dave, I got the place I used, I got them in like 6 days.
I do. I don't remember the name of the company though.
I think it was PCB Way.
Oh yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, it's just amazing. You can get the software for designing the circuit board, download it for free. You don't need to buy it. And then you know, it prepares the Gerber files, uploads them to the Chinese factory, and it's checked and all this, and you can go back and look and see where your orders will say, oh, it's going here to you know, drilling, and you know where the boards are. I ordered 50 boards, and it cost me about, because I ordered I had them shipped DHL. So the whole order cost me $45 for 50 boards, and it was here in 6 days. And they're perfect. You know, they do a really good job. I mean, that's the first time I'd ever used you know, had my own boards made rather than using a breadboard and soldering wires all over the place. And I'd never do that again, but just send away and get them.
Yeah, I use Bit Trace to do the board layout. It'll generate Gerber files, and they have I think it's a free or really cheap version for, you know, up to 400 nodes or whatever, 400 roles.
Yeah.
You got a big library of parts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's if you want to all this stuff is, you can look it up, you know, which parts you want to put here, what, and it knows the spacing and the hole, you know, the hole spacing, the diameter of things, everything. It's just really cool. It's actually kind of fun. I'm sorry I didn't have something else to design.
Looks like the process right there.
Yeah, there you go. You know, you think of China and you think there's a bunch of people working in a dark factory and, you know, they're wearing sandals and it's all dirty and everything. And it's,
That's India.
but it's like super modern and all, and, you know, and guys with microscopes looking at things, quality control. And,
It's gotta be automated though, because it's so cheap. I mean,
oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think what they do is they have extra space on existing customers' panels, and they must just have super good software that they can just, you know, shove your board into the space that would normally get unused. Because I think the blanks that they use are fairly big, like, you know, probably 24 inches by 24 inches or something, you know, and so there's going to be a lot of wasted space that we can do all our little cute boards in the area. So I think that's how they can do it so fast. Like here, I forget, I think this is like the project check, basically, that they reviewed the files. And then the first thing they do is they go and drill the board, because what they do is they do plated holes, is they drill them, and then they have to seed the hole for plating, and then they plate the holes in between. So what you end up with is a PC board that's continuous. You know, it's full copper on both sides with holes plated through. Okay, so they drill a hole, plate the copper in the hole, and then they put photoresist on, and they pattern the circuit on it and develop it. And what's left is basically emulsion on where the copper shouldn't be removed, and no emulsion where it does. And then they remove that, and then they I don't know why pattern plating would be there, but anyways, and then they do inspection and etching and solder mask. So you can see here they started on November 9th at 5:40 in the morning. And by the next day, basically a day and a half later, you know, they finished my 20 boards and stuck them in the DHL truck. So pretty amazing stuff. And as far as software goes, KiCad, and I'm not sure if you already mentioned that, Brian, you know, it's free. It's quite powerful. I've switched over to it because the CirCAD guys don't support Windows 10 or even Windows 7. And it doesn't have a lot of the design rule checking and this, that, and the other. I'm really liking it. And again, it's just so easy to make boards these days. And even with the absolute cheapest shipping, you know, it's 2 to 3 weeks to get a lot of boards in your hand for cheap.
Dave,
Yeah, that's what I'm using. It's KiCad.
KiCad, okay.
Yeah, Kilo India, Charlie, Alpha, Delta.
It's actually kind of fun, you know, it was easy to learn software, and they have it for both Mac and Windows.
you got auto routers.
What?
Yeah,
I assume auto routers on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, it was a lot of fun. I made 2 different boards now. The second one was a lot better than the first one. But you know, these places, whether or not you're ordering $5 worth or $50 worth or whatever, they're super attentive, you know. I mean, you get an email back immediately from them saying, you know, we've got your drawings. Okay, I've passed the check. It's going to go into production. And, you know, it's just very well done. They're going to take over one of these days, I swear.
Yeah, elaborate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't quite hear what that person said, but that is, if I heard you right, one thing about KiCad is the component library is very rich. It is like you don't have to create very many components. With CirCAD, I had to create so many custom components, even for simple things. KiCad, it's pretty much in there already. I can find a footprint for something that already exists. And the other cool thing is you can export a 3D model of your circuit board. So you can see what it looks like with the components stuffed on it, with the relays and the terminal blocks, you know, right after you get done drawing it. It's pretty darn neat. I'm going to try and do a presentation for the Ventura Club on it, sometime in 2023. And maybe Brian, you and I can coordinate for SBARC.
Yeah, well, you know what else is you can take the 3D model that you generate and you can bring it into Fusion 360 design if you're designing a case for it, an enclosure or something. And if you've got external ports that need, that you use the model to lay out everything on your design for your case. So I found one for example, for like a Raspberry Pi that somebody else had done, but I did the same thing for this other board that I did. And you just, you can take and insert it in there as a layer, and then it, you can make it disappear when you're done using it, but it shows you, so you can get like almost zero tolerance for, ports that are on the board that you need to go, extend through the case. So it's really cool. I mean, we'll have to do a real cool demonstration. All right, anybody got anything else?
Brian?
Yeah, I haven't forgotten, Harry. I'm gonna announce the election stuff first, and then I'm gonna turn it over to you. All right, we got the results of the election about way faster than Arizona. Well, for president, I guess I'm gonna be here another year. Same with Tom, Larry, Levi, Dave Schmidt, Wayne Beckman, and Mike Wapner.
Read them again.
Oh, okay. For president, me. Treasurer, Tom Saunders. Secretary, Larry Martinez. Levi, Director at Large. Dave Schmidt, Director at Large. Wayne Beckman, Director at Large. And Mike Wapner, Director at Large. And the bylaws changes were approved. We didn't get one negative vote on the bylaws. So there you go. That's our lineup for next year. Harry, Harry wants to tell us about something here.
Yeah, bring that around.
On, Brian?
Yeah, let me,
Okay.
Oh.
okay, let me turn this around to you.
Okay.
There you go. You are now on television.
I'm Harry Brown, K682.
Let me bring
I
that.
know most of you. I have something.
Called the Honor Flight Program. Anybody heard of it? From you. Well, it's a program for veterans, U.S. military veterans, from either the Korean era or the Vietnam era. It's a trip from our region by airliner all the way to Washington, D.C. 4 days there, touring the various military sites and cemeteries. A fantastic trip. And then back home on an airliner. And here's the kicker. If you're an honorably discharged veteran from either of those two conflicts, you can't pay for anything. Airfare, ground transportation, lodging, meals, it's all paid for by the organization. And if you'd be interested, just give me your name and phone number or email address, and I'll have information sent to you. My wife and I are both Korean veterans, and we went on the trip in May. It was absolutely wonderful. We loved every minute of it. And there were about 22 veterans on our flight.
Each one had a companion. These are volunteers who come along, and they even carry wheelchairs on the buses and on the planes. So if you're disabled, that does not disqualify you. So let me know your name, phone number, or your email address, and you'll be contacted. Thank you. Thank you.
It's still on. Not quite done yet. Put it over here. Okay, let's see. Anybody else have any announcements or anything they wanna? Dorothy, did you take the minutes?
I did.
Good. And oh, certainly, go ahead.
Tomorrow afternoon, Saturday, the Goleta Depot Museum has a Depot Days event. There's some terrific raffle prizes. If anybody would like to go there, I can make sure you get a ticket to get in. And it's a fundraiser, obviously, for the little Goleta Depot. And anybody that'd like to go, we're very welcome.
Do you have train rides?
I'm the train driver.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Are you generally sober on Saturdays?
generally, well, there's gonna be a lot of wine sold. And I have, Captain Fatty's is gonna be providing some beer. Now, there's a rule G, they call it, when you're driving the train, you're not supposed to do that.
We can text them.
Other than that, it'll be a nice event. There'll be a lot of good food there. So if anybody'd like to go, you show up. And even if you don't have a ticket with you, you tell them that you're invited by Mucko, and you can get in and enjoy the place.
What time is starting?
It's good question, from 2 in the afternoon till 5 in the evening tomorrow.
So you'll all have time to come down to the club station, hang out for 3 hours,
Donuts.
watch hair grow in people's ears, and then you can go to this.
So,
Question.
They'll have some tours of the old depot building if you want to see what's inside.
All right, well, I guess that's about it.
Question.
Thanks. Oh, wait a minute,
Question.
wait a minute. Daryl's running a thing here.
Question.
Challenging here because everybody selected who they thought had the best gizmo tonight. And we have a 3-way tie. Where 3 of them that got 3 votes. And those were Levi. His battery box. Good show. Les, would you believe? And his Sterling engine. And Dave, AI6VX was an atomic clock, which we were enjoying. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Thank you. Thanks, Daryl.
Ryan, question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When are you gonna put out new IDs?
Probably years.
When, well, now that the election's over, probably pretty soon.
Well, I've been looking for like 5 years now, or 4 or whatever, but it'd be nice to have my new ID.
You never come to meetings.
I'm here.
My dad was on.
All right, everybody.
Santa's gonna give you coal.
You get coal in your stocking this year.
I think they turned us off. You guys have a good night. Have a great weekend. See you, John. See you, Mike.
Later.
I could have broke his leg.
Well, I just checked one. I don't even know which one I checked. That guy drives me nuts. He never comes to meetings, never comes anywhere where he wants. Badge that he wants.
Yeah, so that's what drives him on.
Yeah, swap that.
The what?
Swap that notifications. Because if you didn't get a notification that you bought something, I'm used to me not getting.
Well, when did you buy it?
It goes up and down.
Today?
No, like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, my gosh.
There's no internet. How do I get on the Wi-Fi? USD?
There was, I had it. Was on, is it on that paper over there?
Wow. That's a real story. Because everything turned out on the floor, didn't it?
Huh?
Used to be written on the board.
Yeah.
What year was it?